Set. Action.
Yeah, action. We hopped on because we had the idea to talk about mindset and talk about identity and all these new breakthroughs that you've been experiencing recently as an artist and as a human. And it's kind of like that trick question, right? When somebody asks you to introduce yourself and you can't think of more than your name, right? Like that almost is like it's a trick question, right? Like, where do you start? Where do you start to introduce yourself? Because you do have so many titles now at this point. You know what I mean? So, when I say introduce yourself, it's I really what I should tell people is, give me like a 2-minute brag.
Okay. 2-minute brag. Um, yeah, it is a tough question. I don't know. It is a tough question. Um, it's interesting because when I say like I'm Taylor, that's not really who I am. I started dancing in, I think like, I don't know, probably when I was 6. And then I met Erica and she took me and I stopped dancing then and I did like figure skating and what else did I do? I played soccer, I played t-ball, I played a lot of sports. And then I met Erica like 13, probably when I met you, like 5th grade-ish, whatever. And she took me to my first hip hop class. And that's when I like really was like, oh, this is it. This is like my life. And it's interesting because like going through the process that I've been going through now and just like kind of connecting back to that like childhood, it's like my dream was so alive. It was like there's so much fire in that dream. And I don't know. I remember just there was nothing else. And when I first
Yeah,
met you, like it was dancing. That's it.
yeah.
Talk to me about a second thing, like you're talking to the wrong person. So yeah, so then I continued dancing till I went to what I did in high school and then I competed and it was a huge part of my life and I was really good at it and it fulfilled me in the it was my biggest fulfillment still to this day. And and yeah, and then it kind of came to an end.
Interesting, because I feel
But
like
it's hard to open
like
up about.
your journey was not like easy, right? Like you had back problems when we were like 15, you had knee problems when we were young. Like your body was fighting you almost, and like almost, getting in your way, essentially. I remember you like talking about how bad your back hurt. And we were so young, and I was like, all right, like, okay, grandma, but now, thinking about it, like that's a really hard struggle to face when we are so young because you don't expect your body to start hurting that way. So when started going through these physical ailments, one, I've learned a lot about how our physical ailments actually are derived from emotional ailments. Do you think that some of your physical ailments came from emotional, things that you're experiencing? And two, one, like you did get to some big stages. You got past all those physical ailments and did get to some big stages. For someone that's not a dancer like myself, I consider those big stages. And I hope you do too. But tell me a little bit about that journey of getting to those places despite what your body was doing.
Yeah, actually, you're reminding me a lot of it now. And it's crazy because when I dance now, I don't feel those problems. That's why it's crazy to me.
Mhm.
Because they were such a heavy thing. And like, yeah, when I was like 15, they were,
Yeah,
they
crazy. You
were
don't
a
expect back
big
problems at
issue.
15.
No, yeah, no, I had a crooked spine.
Yeah, insane.
Um, but and actually now with everything, I mean, I'm definitely very spiritual and I believe in like the effects of negative energies and negative people and people's burdens being put on you.
Yeah.
And so I think that growing up, I mean, I'm 29 right now, and it's taken me literally to just a few months ago to come into like a mentality of like putting me first
Hmm.
and choosing me and not taking on everybody's stuff
Yeah.
and trying to sort it out. And I think that with the question that you asked, like, you know, when I was younger, and I think a lot of people deal with this, but I'm really sensitive to other people's emotions, not because I'm a sensitive person, but because I am sensitive to their energy and I want everybody to be at their best,
Yeah.
and I just, my way of growing up, my conditioning was it's not about you, it's about what everybody else needs. And I think that that was on a subconscious way. I don't think that it was actually intentionally done to me like that, but that's just how my mind processed things.
Hmm.
And now reflecting back on that, yeah, that had actually, it's almost like dance was so much harder to actually accomplish things when it was something that was so natural. But I worked so hard, and it's like we talked about the other day, to prove myself in it, like so hard, like legs shaking at the bar, like doing everything. And it didn't have to be that hard, but it
Hmm.
was that hard because emotionally, it was that hard for me to actually just allow myself to enjoy it. And I think that that had actually, yeah, that had a huge effect because when I got to like 18 and I was a little bit in that like, do I want to do it professionally? Do I want to go to college?
Hmm.
It was just, it got to the point that I was just like, I don't really know if I like it anymore. I don't know, because it became such like a struggle, you
Hmm.
know, like such a struggle to
Yeah.
just, it was something that brought me so much joy and happiness. It was so conflicted with things that I don't even know if they were like, they weren't mine, obviously, but
Hmm.
I didn't know that at the time.
Sure.
And that was definitely overtaking my mental state for sure. And that was having a huge effect for
Yeah.
sure.
What was happening in your head when you did stop dancing? Because I know that was a long gap as well. What was going on, like, as far as, where you saw your identity? How were you rediscovering yourself again? What was that journey like? Because I know, I mean, I've had the opportunity to be around a lot of athletes and elite performers now. And I feel like that's one of the hardest struggles, is no longer being able to do the things that we love, no matter what it is. Almost like the grieving process begins and we have to do some deep diving. What was that like?
That was probably like the hardest thing that I think I've ever endured in my life. Even that was the hardest thing. And it's crazy because now when I look back on it and I've, had a lot of clarity in my mind, I absolutely believe that my separation period of with dance was my biggest heartbreak. No
Mm,
person,
mm,
no boyfriend, no friend, no nothing. I've
mhm.
never experienced a heartbreak like what I did when it's not even that I feel like I chose to stop dancing. It was that I, like
Did you
it
ever
was I couldn't
feel,
get there no more. I couldn't
yeah,
go there. I couldn't
did you ever feel
imagine.
like it betrayed you? Like, did you ever feel a sense of betrayal from dance?
No, the one thing that I always kept in my mind my whole life, I always sat there and I said, how is it that I can love something so much, but keep me from happiness? Like literally, like know exactly what was gonna make me happy and just not give it to myself and
Mm,
be so terrified of it. Like so terrified. The reason why I stopped going to class was because I couldn't, my mind got to a place where it was so fearful of, and I felt like I wasn't somebody who thought about what other people think about, but it got to a place that I was so fearful of not exceeding, wow, it's epiphany.
Unlock.
Not exceeding others' expectations, one, and like not, I don't know exactly how to put this in words, but not how to hold that identity of that person
Mm.
because I wasn't that person no more.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was changing everything inside me and I had to like journey into it again. And
Yeah.
I was afraid to like go into that unknown area and
Mm-hmm.
that I was gonna fail. Wow, it's all coming together.
Unlock. Unlock.
Unlocks.
Unlock.
Um, and that really that just I mean, there's a lot of abuse that led up to this point, you know.
Sure. Life is also happening
Right.
simultaneously as we're trying to reach our dreams.
Exact. And I think that another thing and what I've learned with like mindset and like the power of your mouth and the power of your words is
Yeah.
I always said I will never let a relationship come in the way of my dreams. And I think I was saying this when I was like 9. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if I watched a movie. I don't remember why, if I saw somebody close to me or whatever it was, but something hit in my head. And I was like, I would never do that. I would never give up my dreams for a boy, you know? And so it's like you have to be so careful what you put out in the universe. You really do, because it really comes, it only knows how to bring back.
Right.
And I think that that fear and that like, I don't know, I all of a sudden it happened.
Yeah.
And when it happened, I didn't even know how it happened. But um that was like I really the way I look at it is I broke my own heart. That's why I'm so heartbroken about it.
Mm-hmm.
And in a betrayal way is that like, yeah, I feel like I betrayed myself because for well, I know exactly why these reasons are, but I didn't know how to choose me. I didn't know how to like accept that my happiness mattered, that my talents were great and I was worthy of them.
So again, kind of traveling back through your journey, when I think about all these, when I say big stages, I've also had the opportunity to see you, go get to So You Think You Can Dance, do that crazy large Filipino show that you did when we were younger.
Wawawi.
Yes, that show. Dance for Charlie XCX. You did that. You've done, some really huge things. And what's crazy to me is that you still describe this feeling of always sensing that failure was right around the corner
Yeah.
when you were achieving.
Yeah. Even like now, like hearing you talk about it, yeah, I never even like, I never gave myself, what's the term, like the
Enough credit.
roses. Yeah,
Enough
credit.
credit.
Yeah, I never, when I talked about those things, I felt shameful for talking about them.
Yeah,
Just
which kind
listening
of
to
goes
you
into what
talk
you were
about
just
them.
saying, how you were saying, like, it's okay, I don't need it. Like, what do you need?
Yeah,
Hiding your achievements. Like, those were some really big things that, probably 1% of the world will experience.
yeah, yeah, I never took the time to be proud of those things. And I wanted to be in my mind. I was like, oh, this is amazing. Oh my gosh, like so excited.
Yeah.
But, and even in that mentality, it's crazy because it's like, if you suppress your accomplishments and you can't speak them, like communication is so key, right? Like that's the power of journaling and all these things, even just communicating with yourself. But if I suppress my accomplishments always, my whole life, and I never felt the safe place to be able to be like, to be proud of myself,
Mm-hmm.
actually, ever. And that is deep, actually. That's crazy. Um, and so there's no accomplishment that could have been big enough, or couldn't have been anything, because the
Sure.
way that my mind was, I was in that loop of thinking,
Yeah.
was, it was, it's a failure even when it's not,
Sure. Yeah. It's
I don't
just
know.
another stage for
Yeah,
you.
like, this isn't that great,
Mm-hmm.
until I get to that point, and it's not like that until I get there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because my personality, like, I would have, I mean, anybody, like a friend, tell me, oh, I just started taking skateboarding classes, and like, I know, like, it's out of nowhere, but like, I'm excited to start it. And I'm the person in my heart and soul that's like, dude, that is so amazing. You have no idea how incredible that is. Like, you inspire me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just, the start of it is a huge win. Like, that's how I talk to
Yeah.
people. But how I talk about myself, it's not how I am today.
Mm-hmm.
But reflecting back on that is like, that's really deep. That's really sad. That's really sad.
It's crazy. I
Not
mean,
funny.
also, like, again, like in the beginning, when I asked you to introduce yourself, and again, thinking of it as a trick question, you know, in that span, in that moment, you didn't think to say that you're a professional dancer. I mean, basically, like internationally wide, you know?
Yeah,
You've
no,
done international things, you've done nationwide projects, you've done, all these things, but none of that rolled into your introduction, where typically in today's society, the first thing people go to is their work title and like two accomplishments, or something of that nature. And that's where I switched that language to give me a 2-minute brag.
and
And even in your 2-minute brag, you didn't go there. Like, it just goes to show you, like we just travel through all these accomplishments and post these things, and we're expecting our friends and family, and the people that we consider close to us, to view our moments. But meanwhile, as time goes and you do bigger things and you hit bigger stages, before you even have time to recognize it, your video that you did in 2011 has 30,000 views, which, I mean, that's like a video that was so long ago. I can't imagine all these recent projects that you've done, the kind of magnitude they would hold if you gave them that same spotlight. And so with that, I kind of want to travel into what you've been doing as of recent with your art and installations, and doing these really, really cool motion pictures, if you ask me. Your dancing videos that look really crazy quality, but it also is your art. um you know what are your plans for this new breakthrough in your identity and in what you're doing, and in Taylor Crosta?
um, eh,
Levels.
it's the way I see it is, man, I gotta take a step back and just like, you're opening my eyes up. And I thought I did so much work of like healing, and I have, but still, it's like, and I think I've been facing this one thing that's like,
Mm,
there's something in there still. There's
mhm,
something that you haven't faced yet. There's something that is deep rooted in you
mhm,
that is holding you back from going,
mhm.
from going to that next level. And I don't mean next level on like fame and fortune or anything like that, but next level on
Video game.
self-belief. Something is keeping me from it. And thank God for you. I'm grateful because you're opening my eyes up. it's always been self-worth, and it's always been self-belief,
Mhm.
and it's always been shame and guilt for anything I've ever accomplished. And it's always been the fear of like, when I love something, I've seen it just get taken from me. And the one thing I loved, I watched, I just watched it get taken. So I've never ever shared anything again because I'll just protect it, you know? And then I also got this mindset of, I can't do it on my own. I need anybody, like, let me take you on my thing. Let me, bring you with me.
Yeah.
And you're going to be the reason why I'm going to be able to do it.
Mhm.
And that is such a limiting mindset.
Mhm.
It's it's always been in it. It's in all of us, first of
Mhm.
all. It's always been in all of us. And we go searching for the thing that's right there, that's right inside. And um, so the way I see this right now is, when I started painting, I just wanted to create something. Like, I realized at that time that, like, growing up, like, I just was in situations where my voice was just needed to be like suppressed. And then when I got vulnerable in friendships, relationships, family ships, whatever, it was like some explosion happened of like being a crazy situation that just turned into a conflict. So when I stopped dancing, it's almost like I stopped talking again, because that was the way that I knew how to talk.
Mhm.
And then so I started painting. And it's crazy because the first like 4 months, I've never painted in my life, you
I
know?
know,
I
which is
didn't even,
crazy to me. I'm like, I started thinking, like, were you painting and just not telling me? Like our whole
no,
lives, were you drawing or something? Like
I
you were
just,
doing like color by numbers behind everybody's back.
no, I would doodle in class a lot. But like, it was nothing, I mean, it was just lines and like shapes.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's just that expression of like getting my voice out. But
Mhm.
even through my painting process, I'm just so frustrated, like, all the time. Like, I
Yeah.
can never just let go and just be like, just have fun. Like,
Yeah.
it is so hard to have fun because I have this thing of like, it's almost like this pressure, like this energy that's just like on me, that's like, you have to be perfect. If
Mm.
you're not, it is not accepted. And
Mm.
if you go and share what you're feeling or thinking, like, something bad's gonna happen,
Yeah.
and that created this like just unworthiness. And I don't know why, but even in my paintings, so I was gonna say, it's like my first, and it feels weird to say this, but like the first 6 months I started painting, I sold like 6 paintings.
Yeah. I
I was like,
literally remember you saying, I don't think this is good. And I was like, you have lost your mind. Sell it.
literally, and then I got to the point where I was like, because I was listening to other people, and I'm like, wow, I have like 15 paintings and they all look like somebody else did them, like not the same artist on all of them.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there like, well, how do you market that? This is like too much. It's all over the place. It doesn't make sense. And that's what I've heard my whole life.
Mhm.
You're too much. You don't make sense. Nobody understands you. You're
Mhm.
really deep. Your
Mhm.
emotions you're really sensitive. And so it's like, by listening, the power of people's words,
Mhm.
and especially when your mindset is not strong and it's challenging for you, like, it embeds into you, and you
Yeah.
make this agreement with other people's words without even knowing that you made an agreement with their words.
Right.
And I looked at everything. I mean, I have all of my paintings in my home right now,
Mhm.
and
I
that's
have all your
they're
paintings
just,
in my home as well.
and yes, you do. And I just like, because I don't think any of them are good. And it sucks because they are like, I've never painted in my life, and you can't really see, my
You
nose is
can
there, but you can't
see
really see
that
it.
that is a great piece of art. And
Well,
again,
it's not done.
it's crazy.
And I found this canvas in the trash.
That's
So
wild. No,
it's
but
like another
even
memory.
like in me, like the first one that I thought of that really like I remember thinking like, wow, that's so cool, was that Snoopy picture you did.
Oh yeah, those are sitting over there. Those are the ones I want
Dude,
to give you.
yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah, you
Sweet.
can have both of them too. Um,
Awesome. Awesome.
you
But
know,
still,
I
like
just
thinking of again, like our mind plays tricks on us, right? We become like again, like you said, we become almost contracted to these agreements that we make with these words and what other people's belief systems have projected onto us. And again, like we get buried in the sand, but we put ourselves there in the first place, and it's just it becomes this vicious, you know, circle until we can like pause and hop out and go in
yeah.
a different direction. And I think now, um, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that, some thing as of recent has happened inside of you where you are, creating this new path and sprinting in a new direction.
Yes, I'm literally like, and it's what you said, I just realized I was in fight or flight mode
Mm,
very much very long part of my life. And
yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people deal with the same thing, but it took to 29 to being by myself, like
yeah.
completely by myself, where I actually got to hear my thoughts. I got
Hmm.
to feel my feelings. I got to see what I didn't do, what I struggled with, what I can do, what I want to do. I
Yeah.
got to hear me.
Hmm.
And that's when it started shifting a lot of things. Like,
Yeah.
and exactly, you have to take accountability.
Yeah.
You have to face your
Mm,
demons. You have to face this negative outlook. Even though you didn't put it there, you didn't put it there, because like, I mean, and I think that like even Charlie, watching her, my 4-year-old daughter,
mhm.
it doesn't matter, watching her, I just got to observe and I got to see what it's like to be a child. And
Yeah.
I appreciate purity and I appreciate innocence. And so much of us have gotten our innocence taken away as children.
Mhm.
And that is something very, very precious. Like
Mhm.
it is the diamond in the rough. And when that happens, life is so like, I mean, it's just so serious. I have to talk to myself every day in the mirror. I have to literally what I do is like I hug myself and I say like to little Taylor, you
Mhm.
know, you're safe. I'm so proud of you. And I speak
Mhm.
to me like I would speak to you.
Yeah.
I think you're amazing. And I honestly think it's dope how, you and like uplift a lot of people. But I think that you really need to take the time to uplift yourself.
Mhm.
And I think it's, you know what I mean? And I talk
Yeah.
as if I would talk to Charlie or something.
Mhm. Yeah.
And as crazy as that sounds, and as weird as that is, and maybe that's why you kind of have to be alone and you have to be isolated because you have to feel comfortable enough to do that. And in a
Mhm.
world today when everybody's measuring all their accomplishments, but
Mhm.
it's like, I think that we should be looking at like, what are the failures? Because the failures are sculpting you
Mhm.
and building that character, and those should be highlighted
Mhm.
because the accomplishments, of course, will come. Every day
Mhm.
you take a step forward, you're gonna accomplish something. But every day you don't take a step forward, that's where the story is really being made.
Yeah.
Because, that's where you are saying, that's the challenge.
Yeah.
And
No,
there's beauty in
I I I'm pretty certain that I heard it in my course that I'm doing with Brian Kane. But he was talking about how failure is feedback.
yeah.
And until we're open to feedback, we don't see the beauty in failure because there really is so much to learn in failure and what we perceive as a failure. But also, I'm a firm believer in you've got to lose a couple times before you can win. You can't, like, you're not going to win every time. And until you learn how to lose, like, you're not going to get that great victory until that point. Some of the most successful people in the world failed majority of their career, which people don't recognize and talk about enough. But it's again that our mind, what we choose to recognize and what we choose to see, and that repetition. And I think that's why I enjoy journaling so much, is because it's like it's a life tracker. You can track, you can go back in time in a journal and track, as long as you dated your paper, which sounds so silly.
No, I gotta get
But
into dating.
yes, but
No.
like when you date your work, I mean, you just had this huge breakthrough reading something that you wrote years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And because
Like a
you,
year ago.
a year
Well,
ago.
maybe 6 months ago.
Okay, so pretty fresh then,
It was
actually.
recent, yeah.
Pretty recent. Okay, but still, like, even more powerful that it had that impact, for you to read it, but be able to go back, see it, see your words, read
Yeah.
them. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I've been pushed in this way of making journals now, because if everyone could experience that, I mean, what a magical place we would be in.
Right. It would be a magical place. I like how I look at life as a- anything I'm told is the right way.
Mhm.
First thing is like perspective shift. Okay, well, what's the other side of it?
Mhm.
Because when you talk about the failures, actually, your greatest wins are in your failures
Mhm.
because you tried.
For sure.
Because my whole life, I stopped trying. So I didn't
Mhm.
have any failures. So I didn't have any successes.
Mhm.
Like, so I had no wins. And even like the videos that I've recently, I mean, it's just it's almost like a journal. My life is like a journal because I'll go back to a painting or a video or I have so much stuff in my phone that I
Mhm.
have not shared that I
Yeah.
want to share. And now it's changing. Now I'm like sharing it and I'm trying to, be up to like date with the,
That's
the way
right.
you share it, the time you
Yeah.
share it, so it's not space it
Same.
out.
Same.
But that's just how life is now. But whatever,
Yeah.
cool. Um, but it's I look back and I'm like, what the fudge? But like, why are you so hard on yourself? Like, this is cool, this is great. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's and this I have tuned into this, like there's two types of awareness.
Mm.
One is the I don't give a fuck, right? And then you just do it. And it's the I don't give a fuck mentality. But that mentality I feel is can get a little ego driven. And
Mhm.
you're in this I don't give a F. And you kind of just like close everybody off because
Mhm.
you're like, F all of you. Nobody believes in me. I'm going.
Mhm.
And that kind of blocks a lot of things and it creates a lot of little bit of anger probably, and you're not really healing certain things and taking
Start operating out
accountability.
of resentment.
Exactly, and that's not healthy for you. So the new one is the awareness of I don't even think about the perspective of I don't give a fuck. I just do it. There is no thought about it, and I have no resentment for it, and I am what I am.
Mhm.
And I love me
Yeah.
and I love what I'm becoming and I love the journey that I'm on. And I can't, a true creative nature, like being really in embodying that, because we're all creators, we're all creative, is you have to take out competition and
Mhm.
you can create freely when you stop being competitive. And
Mhm.
sometimes you can be competitive in a very like aggressive way where people know like geez like okay like I'll sit back, but sometimes you can be quietly competitive where
Yeah.
you're sitting here and you're comparing your whole life and you're competing, you know what I mean, in this like
Mhm.
illusion that you're creating. And so it goes hand in hand both ways, and it's two different types of people. You know,
Right.
some people think that they're so, this is what I had to learn. You're so nice that, you know, you don't deserve nothing to happen to you.
Right.
Well, no, you're nice to people that are the wrong people for you to be nice to, or you're overextending
Mm-hmm.
and you're not nice to yourself. So
Right.
you are your own, I don't want to say abuser, it's harsh, but you're your own, you know, you're your
Yeah,
own,
we get
like,
stuck in negative
you're the same
self-talk.
as them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they do something bad to you, but they don't do nothing bad to them, and you
Mm-hmm.
do something bad to you and you don't do it bad to them, that's the
Mm-hmm.
perspective. And
Right.
like getting out of that victim mentality,
Right.
taking accountability for, okay, let me look at exactly like where am I at? Why am I here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because it's me.
Right.
Like, elephant in the room. It's me,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Well,
And then you can start growing.
yeah, and I've said too, being in the mental health field for the last 6 years, I've often said, the easiest way to treat someone is by seeing how they treat themselves.
Oh,
And if I see that you don't respect yourself, you don't love yourself, you don't take care of yourself, then what motivates me if I'm already in that negative mindset, if those are my intentions, right? Because there's different kinds of people. What tells me that it's okay to do anything different, you know?
yeah,
And we forget that we're the example, and we almost give that first impression feel of this is how I treat myself.
yeah, it's true. And it's like it's human nature. So
Hmm.
it's not even like people are out to get you, but it's that they until you speak now, if I'm okay, like, oh, you can say that I'm a people pleaser, so you're gonna subconsciously just act with that, right?
Hmm.
And but if I say, hey, look, I don't like the way you did that, and I create this
Hmm.
boundary,
Hmm.
like, then now you know you're gonna adjust,
Right.
right? But if you never create a boundary and people will it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Most people will judge a book by its cover,
Hmm.
right? Because it's human nature.
Yeah.
Until you start speaking and they start, okay, oh, that's different. Okay, cool.
Hmm.
Get to know this person. And then they shift it.
Yeah.
But that's what's so important about like a perspective shift.
Hmm.
If you think you know something, look at it the other way because there's something you probably don't know.
Right.
And it's being the student and the teacher,
Yeah.
you know? And I think seeing that like you can be a student with me, but
Hmm.
you can be my teacher as well.
Hmm.
And taking like power in that, like I can learn from anybody and I can
Hmm.
also teach anybody.
Right.
And that's how everybody in the world is. Well, that's not how they are, but that is a great perspective to have
Hmm.
because now, I mean, like, I don't know, cut this part out. That's the way to be.
That's okay. When you
Uh,
say we get to this place where we can be a teacher and a student. I'm curious, with as much life experience that we have both had at this time. And now we both are at a time in our life where we have small humans around us. What is one of your biggest things that you try to teach Charlie?
Um,
And I know she's 4, so she's taken things in a little bit
no, yeah,
different,
we're
but
teaching a lot.
she's ahead of the game.
One thing right now that I try to teach her is well we're working on being grateful.
Mm,
So one, I we go through what she's grateful for.
mhm,
And then two is we do like our affirmations. And
mm.
I tried to start meditating with her too, but she doesn't really, but I let her watch me. I just let her watch me just
Uh-huh.
take time for myself. And
Yeah.
then I have my whole mirror in my bathroom covered in affirmations that
Okay.
are like specifically for mine. And
Uh-huh.
she'll be like, read it, say it, and then pick me up and I'll pick her up and I'll say them
Yeah.
all.
I love it.
And the other day I was thinking and I was like, because you're in it, you're in it. You don't really see the big picture of it. But I'm like, dang, I'm really proud of myself. Like these are the memories that I'm building for her.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the traditions that I'm building for her. And she's gonna remember this, you
Yeah.
know? And she teaches me to like if she's painting, you know what I mean? Like I paint with her a lot. And sometimes my fight or flight will I'm learning getting rid of these things, but like I can be in a rush and I could just, I'm very serious. I've been battling, not battling, but it's been challenging for me to be a kid and
Mhm.
not think about time, not think about nothing. There's nothing I have to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like I can rush her time.
Mm.
And so and she gets frustrated. She'll be like, no, I'm not done, And it's like I have to be like, oh, she's my teacher right now. You're right. You are not done.
Mm-hmm.
And if I keep taking that time away from you when you're in your zone, you're gonna start to become just as I was, what I dealt with. I could be working on a project and somebody like, oh, can you help me with this? I didn't create a boundary. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't say what I didn't choose me in the moment. And then
Yeah.
I'm sitting there frustrated because I'm like, well, I really needed to do this. Now I'm
Yeah.
behind. And it could have all been avoided with just communication.
Mm-hmm.
And they would accept that.
Yeah.
People will accept your communication. And if they don't, even more of a blessing because then you find that you're going on different ways.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
it's mindset, it's reframing, it's self-love, it's healing, it's recovery, it's parenting, it's so much real life all in one. 40 minutes just isn't long enough. So we're gonna have
Yeah.
to do part two.